Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Jody Jacobson Fry, and I'm the co-chair of the Workplace Suicide Prevention Committee with Dr. Sally Spencer Thomas. Welcome to our webinar today titled Suicide Prevention in Academia, Successes and Challenges with Sharon Saia and Dr. Wendy Ingram. Sharon Saia is the former EAP director from the Ohio State University. She's also a mental health practitioner and a mental health peer on multiple peer teams, and she works as a therapist, consultant, and trainer. Dr. Wendy Ingram is the CEO of Dragonfly Mental Health, a nonprofit dedicated to cultivating excellent mental health among academics worldwide. She's a molecular biologist and a psychiatric epidemiologist. The Workplace Suicide Prevention Committee is part of a collaborative partnership with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and the United Survivors International. Our guidelines are based on 8 guiding principles. These are available to review at our website, and they range, as you can see, from strategic integration all the way into action orientation. The guidelines are designed to provide a roadmap for any workplace or professional organization to start taking steps to make suicide prevention a health and safety priority. And you can see that they really range from crisis response or downstream approaches up to midstream with training and peer support, all the way upstream with leadership and communication. Today's presentation will actually focus on several of the guiding principles and practices in the Workplace Suicide Prevention National Guidelines.
Thank you, Jody. The goals for today is hopefully understanding the challenges of the higher education environment, how to engage stakeholders for change, and the process of implementing programming for a variety of university settings.
So to really jump into the problem in academia, specifically as a workplace, there's a lot of research that's come out prior to the pandemic and even more since then. But all of these studies have shown that graduate students have 8 times higher rates of severe depression and anxiety, that those with higher IQ and higher educational attainment report higher rates of mood disorders and are also less likely to seek treatment for those conditions. And many other studies of professional students at these higher levels of education, medical students and residents, for example, here, studies have shown that they suffer from burnout at 40 to 44% and depression at 30 to 50%. So this is a really high risk set of individuals and workplace setting.
We're going to talk about the story of 2 universities. On the left is Ohio State University, which is where I was the EAP director. And there's a picture of myself with my team. We had a hybrid model of an EAP. And there is Ohio Stadium and a game day. So on any given day, we have 100,000 people on our campus, which is the size of our stadium. And how I got involved in this is because we had a series of student losses in 2018, one after the other, unfortunately, students falling from our parking garages, 2 within 3 days of each other. And because Ohio State in Columbus, Ohio is so big, it is all the staff that respond. It's our police that respond. It's our dispatchers that respond to these losses. They're taken to our own hospital, and our employees who often witness these events and these losses, they're responding. And it's our job at all those different touch points, to the professors in the classroom, to the students that are in the other seats, we respond to all of them. So many of those touch points fall under, the EAP, responding to that, doing debriefings, but also to all the employees and our police and our staff every time for one of these losses. The other thing that started happening very frequently is I was on the threat assessment team for the university. And because of that, a lot of the threats came from our own employees, faculty, and staff who were struggling and letting people know that they were thinking of harming themselves. And so that was brought to our attention, and our team would get activated on how to address these issues. And then a week didn't go by that I didn't have some manager or supervisor contacting about an employee that was struggling and thinking of not being here any longer. So that's the story of how we started a workplace suicide prevention program at Ohio State in ROI.
I was a graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley in the molecular and cell biology department. It's a very large department, about 100 faculty, maybe 1,000 people, students, postdocs, staff, faculty altogether. But part of a really large university as well, maybe 40 to 50,000. What really got me started working in this and be involved in workplace in academia preparation and peer support specifically was the loss of a classmate of mine in 2013. And the way that we heard about it, the way that we learned of it, the way that the university and the department responded really was not sufficient and was not helpful and supportive in the way that it could be. And we envisioned a different future. And so here's a picture of myself and some classmates from my year and the year below me who were particularly motivated to change things. We founded a By Students for Students organization called MCD Grad Network in order to try to change the dialogue and build in communication, peer support, and destigmatization around mental illness, but specifically in response to, and hopefully we hoped in prevention of future suicides. It's a whole integrated system at universities where the trainees and the students become more senior, become postdocs, and then professors themselves. And so all of our experiences and culture really play into what everyone else does. Actually, we found out later that in 2013, not only did our classmate, a graduate student, die by suicide, there was somebody at every level just within our department that same year, all completely unrelated, an undergrad, a postdoc, and a faculty member. So we're all touched by this, and it's really a high-risk population.
Both of our stories at both of our universities touch on all these, the implementation of the national guidelines. And what got me really motivated was listening to this at the EPA National Conference and the release of the guidelines in October of 2019. We had a standing program for suicide prevention, and that's how this got started. And so at that point, that's when I started getting motivated to do something that we could do this.
Our main focus really was peer support, which is consistent here. We also had to engage in leadership and also set boundaries with leadership about what we needed from them, asking very specifically, as well as letting them know that they weren't invited to our events and our peer support communications and discussions, because we needed to keep that confidential. We also were asked by our cohort and our classmates to provide additional kind of mentorship that we initially didn't feel comfortable with. So we reached out to the psychological services and received training in order to deliver what our peers were asking us for.
After the guidelines, I thought we can do this. Because we already had training and we continue to have training. We have gatekeeper training that we can do all over the university. Also mental health awareness training, and also training about what kind of resources the employee assistance program can bring to employees. But I became very intentional about approaching leadership to be stakeholders in this larger plan. And so I was able to get the support of our human resources department. I was able to get the support of the Dean of College of Veterinary Medicine, the Dean of the College of Nursing. We had approached the Dean of the College of Medicine because we were already doing the ISP with our residents and our medical students. And then I got the support of our health plan, who agreed to help us with this project. So really getting leadership and buying in and saying why this is a good idea. So that was really a great thing we were able to do. We were and continue to be, Ohio State has an environment really rich in mental health resources with a robust EAP. We also have our own substance abuse facility and mental health facility, as well as a lot of other resources on campus, and a self-insured health plan that was strong in mental health reimbursement and resources. So Wendy, do you want to speak a little bit about the self-care orientation real quick?
We really saw and always saw self-care and modeling self-care also as community care. And that really is the difference, I think, that permeates people not feeling alone and feeling empowered to fight through the stigma and discrimination and the fear of repercussions that oftentimes come hand in hand with mental illness and thoughts of self-harm. This fantastic report came out from eLife in 2020, where they had over 1,500 respondents who are in the academic setting and research environments, and found out that there's a lot of support going on between both peers and between different levels of career levels. And so this is a very, very integrated community where there's, as you can see just from this plot, a lot of people supporting each other at all levels and in all directions.
When Wendy and I started talking about how did we move forward with these ideas and our hopes of getting something together to help both of our universities, was really do a survey and keep it short and see what you get back. The level of interest and what people will support. Cannot speak enough to talking to leaders. I was really surprised. Everybody was like, yes, sign me up.
And we experienced the same thing. We, as students and kind of as the lowest on the totem pole, we didn't feel very empowered. We were very trepidatious about doing these things. But when we did the surveys, we got that feedback that this was deeply and severely needed and appreciated and desired by our peers. And the leadership, we got phenomenal support from, which we weren't expecting. And one of the things that engaging with leadership too really allowed for these other pieces to be very clear and important action steps too, is accessibility and visibility. So we had to engage with leadership because we needed their encouragement and support to encourage their students to take the time to come to our events and engage with us and benefit from it. And so we did that very openly and visibly for everyone to see, while, and this is so crucial, we were talking about this as being just the keystone that it'll all fall apart if there isn't also clear confidentiality, established and supported by everyone involved. Please feel free to reach out to either of us to discuss and learn more as well.
Thank you so much, Sharon and Wendy. Please take time to visit www.workplacesuicideprevention.com. There you can take the pledge to make suicide prevention a health and safety priority for your workplace or professional organization.